Hello, everyone at Elisha Space. I'm so happy that you're here to join me. I have the person that you are going to want to talk to, Alyssa Wolf from the Unbusy Mom. She is the mom of 5 children whom she has homeschooled. Yes, you heard me. She runs her business and she homeschools. And I used to homeschool too once upon a time. I homeschooled when my boys were teens, mid to like tweens and teens. And that's not an easy thing to do. And she has a business and she helps other moms also unbusy their lives too. So if you're looking for someone to help you declutter with your tasks, I got the person for you. So, Alyssa, I want to thank you for joining us today at Elisha Space. And we're just excited to have you here.
Thank you so much, Elisha.
Thank you so much. I wanted to ask you, how do you define what's truly essential in both your business as well as your family life, just to avoid the overcommitting, especially now that we're getting back into fall, school's coming up, or it has come up. It's the beginning of the school year. You got fall sports. You got all these activities, band, all these things, and that you have your life too. So how do you define what's truly essential in both your business and your family life so that you're not overcommitting yourself?
Pull this right down to the nitty-gritty practical. What do you have to get done today for your family? Is anyone out of laundry? No? Okay, then you probably do not have to do the laundry today. What about in your business? Do you have client messages and do you have a client response time guarantee that you're going to get back to everyone within 24 hours? Okay, then whatever you've got in your inbox, you must deal with. What about what was on your to-do list? What is the real deadline of that task or that project? Yes, it'd probably be really convenient to get it done today, but sometimes it's not truly due today. It's due end of the week, end of the month. So if you compare this down to, this is what I have to do, live your life, spend the time with your kids, eat the food, do your workouts, whatever, and then go, okay, what extra time do I have? Now, which of those projects is the next most essential? Like, it would be really crunching the rest of my week if I didn't get this done. Okay, well then pull that one to today. But you can kick off a lot of the stuff on your to-do list if you sit here evaluating everything by what is the actual deadline for this? Not the high achiever deadline, the actual deadline.
I love the high achiever, not the high achiever deadline, because that's what we do, right? We think we have to get all of this done as if we're God, because only God can do all things at one time, So what would you say are some strategies that you've implemented to set and maintain boundaries between work and family time? Because boundaries are so important.
They are. Indeed, they are. I like to use time buckets. So here's the work time, here's the family time. Maybe I need some personal time in between, to kind of get out of my head, out of workspace, talk to God, whatever. And in that sense, then the calendar becomes the boundary for me. It's 11 o'clock. I need to go have lunch. Okay, that means it's not work time anymore. It's 1 o'clock. Everyone is going to go have quiet time. That means it is work time. It is not family time. So I don't need to have this huge, big whole boundary system. I just need to look at the calendar for the day. Yes, I keep a fairly consistent daily schedule and say, all right, is it within this hour block? And I know what I'm likely going to be doing.
So how do you handle things?
Mainly by making sure they don't. So I might say work time ends at 9:30 and family time starts. And then that gives me the cushion because my kids probably don't need me straight for 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So if something popped up and I had free time on the mom side of it to go check in with the DMs or something, I could, but I'm not sitting there trying to record podcast episodes. You can't be a mom and do the podcast episodes at the same time.
Right. Can you share a moment when you, Alyssa, realized that your life was too busy, and what was the first step you took to start changing that?
Actually, no, because I have the opposite story.
Okay.
At every season in life, I was making sure my life was not too busy, evaluating every single semester, every single kid age season. Most people let everything get too busy. And I was sitting here constantly going, that feels like it's going to be too much. Okay, we're not doing that. no co-ops, no groups from church, no women's Bible studies, whatever. I just didn't let it get there in the first place.
That's pretty amazing to me, because what happens with a lot of people is they're like, sure, sure, sure. And then before you know it, they're like, how did I get here? Right? Because everything's going at one time. What does an ideal day look like for you in terms of balancing your business responsibilities with your family time?
For me, that means having like at least 3.5 hours for the business. And then right now, with the amount of kids I've got in the homeschool, I need at least 1.5 hours for the homeschooling. And then if I can have 2 or 3 hours for myself, so hobbies, working out, talking to God, something like that, I feel like things are going to fall into place, because you've got the 24 hours in the day, subtract all your sleep or your food, shower,
Cleaning
and then say
house
I want,
too. Right.
yeah, I want 4 hours for this. There's lots of extra space, and that's where all those chores and things can go in, and the pop-ups and the fires and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Can you share some? I'm not trying to do this red fire with just asking you questions, but I think it's important to ask these questions because I get a lot of people in my practice too, and time management is really an issue. It's a big trigger with their stress, and usually, well, not usually, most of the time, all the time, the end of the year is one of the busiest times of the year for a lot of people, because you have the holidays, you have the family functions around that, you have the, the activities that go on at church, they escalate, and it's if you don't have a wrap around your time, then eventually it's like the time is running you and you're not running the time. And so that's why I'm bringing it up.
No,
Okay. How have you adjusted your time management techniques to cater to both your role as a business owner and as a mom?
that was quite a big transition, because I was the stay-at-home homeschooling mom. Then when I decided to add the online business owner hat, I was on top of my day for the stay-at-home mom version, but I had to change quite a bit. Primarily, what that meant is I had to actually get strict about those time blocks of the work versus family, because prior to that, it was more like, well, homeschooling and family chores, but you could kind of mix all those together.
Easily.
So I learned very quickly, you cannot mix the work and the homeschooling without getting distracted or frustrated at one side or the other. And then I also learned that you can't add 4 hours of work to your day. They have to come from somewhere. In other words, I needed to get rid of 4 hours of housework chores during the day to make that fit. So that took a little schedule rearrangement, looking through the to-do list and saying, what chores are my kids actually able to do? Not what I see other moms giving them, but what does not require driver's licenses, sharp knife chopping ability, super high executive functioning skills.
Right. And so that's pretty much how you did it, is you kind of did an adjustment that way. That sounds pretty good. And it sounds pretty easy to do. You did it in
Yes.
bite-sized pieces, it sounds like. Small changes made a big impact. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And what tools or systems do you rely on to keep your business and your personal life organized and running smoothly?
Have to have the to-do list. So I don't know about you, but open my Google Calendar once a day, make sure any appointments on there are on my to-do list. And then I can close the calendar, don't have to open that tab again, and I'm strictly working off that daily to-do list. What is happening when? Which work block do these tasks need to go in? Sometimes you're more creative in the morning versus the afternoon. So if you need to script out some podcast episodes, that better be in the creative time slot, not the my brain is dead one.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
It's pretty much just the personal to-do list.
So what I'm hearing us say is you create a to-do list, and within that to-do list, you prioritize, this is what I'm going to do. How do you keep things balanced? Because sometimes the days with the kids are longer days that you're actually able to apply to the business. So how do you plan for that?
I guess you could say it's because the to-do list is time bucketed as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I may even put, 7 o'clock, the creative work, and say that's from 7 to 9. And then 9 o'clock, I will say something like breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
Remind myself, go get up and eat breakfast. And 9:30 may say start homeschooling. And then the next thing might be at 11 o'clock saying lunch. So I am bucketing it out into all these tasks, into certain things on the calendar. And then in the afternoon, it might be something more like work with one client from 1 to 2, work with second client from 2 to 3. After that, no working with client, enter client notes till 3:30. At 3:30, go have a workout time. At 4 o'clock, go have a meditation practice, journal, talk to God. At 5 o'clock, go start prepping dinner, that kind of a thing. So I'm not allowing the day with the kids, you could say, to overflow into necessary things for clients, for devotions, that kind of a thing. I'm saying this should be able to fit here. And I will have some spare hours, like after supper from 6 to 7. That's overflow time. If the kids need something else, that can go there. They need something else. What about on Saturday?
In the context of family life, how do you approach delegating chores or responsibilities at home? How do you handle that delegation?
Pretty much what I mentioned earlier. That whole, do you know how to use sharp knives? Yes, no. Okay, if you don't, what all things can you chop with a table knife? It's actually quite a lot. And then if you can't handle sharp knives, okay, you can pretty much do almost any food prep thing, period.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been trained on laundry, bathroom cleaning, toilet cleaning? Yes, no. If you have not, is that because you're not even school age? Or if they are school age and they have not been trained, that's my fault. And I need to go train them because there's no reason why your 8-year-old can't scrub sinks for you. Maybe when you grew up, you did it at 12 or 15, but it's a lot easier to get them when they're younger and they think it's normal than trying to talk a sulky teenager. Then instead of getting the teenager to be like, you have this chore and this chore and this chore and this chore, they're like, Mom, you never used to make me do this.
Can you discuss, do you do any outsourcing for your tasks? Like, do you hire anyone to assist you with running your business or some of the tasks with your business, whether it be business or personal life? And how's that impacted your overall
outsourcing? Yes, it's huge. Not having to be the person who manages every single thing, both the mental demands and then just the straight up time. Especially when you get to a certain level in the business, you're like, I know how to schedule emails. I know how to format emails. I'm tired of clicking upload and searching in my Google Drive file for the correct thing. You feel like you're beyond it.
Right.
At the same time, if you outsource that, someone else gets the job. They're doing it for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then think over on the personal side. If you have teens or preteens who like to cook or at least don't mind cooking, doesn't it take a huge load off you as the mother to know someone is sitting there scrubbing potatoes, stuffing them in the Instapot, making the nacho sauce, then you're going to have taco nacho baked potatoes for supper, and you didn't have to stop everything you were doing, wrap it up faster to get to it. Like, you can actually sit down and food is ready. Like, that's pretty amazing as the mom. You've spent years feeding everyone else, doing everything for everyone else, walking in your bathroom and saying, oh yeah, toilet looks a little bit dirty. That's okay. It's bathroom cleaning day tomorrow. I don't have to try to muster up the discipline to do it. Someone else is handling that. Sure, you can go pay them a little extra. I don't care in your allowance. If you feel like that's a fair trade with you and that kid's personality.
Love that last statement when you said that's totally fine. Because you have to give yourself permission. Because I think sometimes, especially as moms, we pile all this stuff on ourselves and we feel like I should be doing this. It's like we don't give ourselves permission to rest. How did you give yourself permission to rest?
I just found I was grumpy, angry, like with my husband and young kids, if I did not rest. Like, I couldn't get through the day till supper, just working straight through. And I was like, well, this is weird. When they were still babies, I would give myself the nap time as rest. It's like, just make it to 1 o'clock. Just make it to 1 o'clock.
How you mentioned also, you spoke about how you schedule time for yourself. And I'm big on that because self-care is a non-negotiable. You cannot pour into others if you're not pouring into yourself, right? So how do you, I know that you do a time bucket, but how else do you ensure that self-care is a negotiable part of your routine? Also, the spending devotions and stuff like that, I think helps too.
It pretty much just is the calendar for me. I'm like, this time to this time is self-care. Here are the bucket of activities you can choose. And I don't just sit there and like read a book for 3 hours. I'm typically moving through some of them. Like, maybe we should do some mindset work. Maybe we should go for a walk. Maybe, no, today I feel like lifting weights. Maybe we really need to talk with God and work out this particular thorny issue. So then maybe I feel like I could read the book because I've gotten all that brain trash out.
So if you're always moving and you're accustomed to moving, it's kind of like you have to force yourself to sit down to do that. What activities or practices have you found that have been most effective for you to recharge and maintain your own physical and mental health?
I definitely like walking. So walking, journaling. I'll do mindset work often while I'm walking so that we're getting the movement in at the same time. I love listening to podcasts. So you can kind of swap up the podcast and be like, do I need to work on this area of my life? Maybe I'll just pop something in.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, you're getting the information you need that you can be like, I really need to journal that phrase or something. So yes, those are pretty much my go-tos.
Can you share a personal story about a time when neglecting self-care affected your business and your family life?
Well, I wouldn't say it was neglecting on purpose, but the newborn phase is always very hard because there's no such thing as self-care.
You're happy to go use the bathroom. So yes, right, take a shower is like a break.
Yes.
Well, that definitely is a difficult time. How did you do that with your newborn? How were you able to schedule that time, the time buckets with a newborn?
With the newborn, I didn't have the business until the youngest was 6 months old. Okay. So I did not face that particular challenge. It was just the homeschooling and the family chores.
Okay.
So I will admit that made life a lot easier.
I think that we have to be, I would suggest just showing yourself grace and kind of figuring out what works for you, especially when you have a newborn. Schedules change a lot. So being flexible, but being intentional about taking time out for yourself and also scheduling time so that you're able to do some of those other things.
You just really need some outside help, I think, because you can't rely on all your other kids to give you that help. If your husband's working, he can't give you the help. So you almost need to hire someone, have a mother-in-law, someone else come in and assist you. And that's kind of tough.
Right. I think I went through, well, most mothers do, some PTSD too when my kids were super little, like that. I had twins. That's why I say kids. I never had a child. I've always had children. So that's my story. But I think sometimes, and that was part of the reasons I think I was so depressed is because I never had a moment to myself. So what was one of the biggest challenges that you faced in finding balance? Because basically that's what we're talking about. How did you overcome that?
Well, just last year, I felt like I had everything in a really good rhythm for the homeschooling, delegating the chores, the way the business work was going. And then I had high schoolers, and they were at the level they need to be taking courses at the community college, taking tests. Now, all of a sudden, I need to drive them there and wait there and then drive them back. And that is in my creative period of the day. Meaning that kind of ruined it. So I was faced with the challenge of, am I going to pull back on the business? Am I going to force myself to do creative work in the afternoon when I'm low energy? What am I going to rearrange so I can still make this work? So what I ended up doing was saying, all right, this is only once a week. It is okay if I drop one creative block once a week, and I'm going to do some of the afternoon formatting, editing, busy work for the business that I would normally do then. And I'm going to understand that I've lost the commute time on both sides. That's just a fact. And if I really feel like I need to use a little bit of time on Saturday, like if I'm just like, I just need 60 minutes on Saturday, it's going to be okay. And this is just for a season.
You gave yourself permission to do the change.
Yes. It was mostly because once I find a schedule that works for me, I really hate changing it.
Mm-hmm. I think as people, though, we don't like change, and then we realize it wasn't so bad after all. How do you face and handle, because with kids, there's always an unexpected, something always happens. It never fails on your time. Something unexpected happens. Both as a business owner and a mom, how do you handle that?
I do not handle that very well if I have no margin. So I learned pretty quickly. I have got to give myself an hour minimum, maybe more like 2 hours with the number of kids I've got in my day where I do not have it scheduled up so that I can take care of those pop-ups and unexpected demands, because I do not pivot gracefully and graciously to say, oh yes, stop while I'm in the middle of this and go handle that. That's just a personality flaw that God's working on. So in the meantime, how I cope with that is giving myself lots of extra space in the day.
You give yourself some time, some cushion time in between. So about how much cushion time do you give yourself? Does it depend on the day?
No, I try to keep my weekdays pretty set. So right now I do it like at least 2 hours of cushion time per weekday. And on the weekend, yeah, probably similar.
Okay. What would you say to other moms who are probably struggling to find balance between maybe entrepreneurship and the business life, or their work life and the business life?
I think the first thing you have to do is get really clear on, is this a no question, I am having both?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're like, no, my identity is I am an entrepreneur, I am a child of God, then you can't drop any of those identities.
Mm-mm.
It has to all fit in. And that's when you start looking for the tough choices. Does being a mother mean I have to be the one scrubbing the toilets? Does that mean I have to be the one cooking the meals? Does that mean I have to be the one formatting the emails for my clients? Maybe not. And you start picking only the big rocks to go on your plate and on your calendar, and outsourcing or just deleting from your to-do list every single other thing. And you know what? You have to get really creative sometimes with the schedule. But if you have that identity piece, the both and identity, locked in first, you're going to be okay with it.
And I'll add this too. I think mothering is more than the tasks we do. Mothering is a role that we play. When I look back at my relationship with my mother, I don't necessarily remember. I know she did tasks and I'm appreciative of the tasks, but it was actually the lessons and the time of authentic time I spent with her, just being in her space, that
It's the conversations.
It's the conversations, it's the car rides, it's the just sometimes being in her office and just being with her. It wasn't necessarily what she did. It was just being in her space and just enjoying her, building the relationship that we had. Right. Yeah. So I think sometimes we get so caught up in the murkiness of doing tasks that we miss the real authenticity and the quality of what it's like just being with that person.
Yes, because if your to-do list doesn't give you enough time to linger over the meal, tuck them into bed, and hear how their day was, you have too much on your to-do list.
And not only that, I also think that even within your marriage with your husband, he doesn't feel like he's competing for your time. And I think that's extremely important too. Were there some things he needed to do with his schedule too, in order to unbusy himself to make sure he was available to everyone as well?
I also try to keep my nose out of that.
Okay, I understand.
I could tweak all kinds of things if he'd let me.
But did you notice any changes with him?
I just had to let him know these are quote unquote work hours now.
Right.
So like I'm not going to be running out to do random errands during them. I'll handle them over the lunch break. And that's kind of mostly it.
Okay.
Like saying,
but it sounds like you respected your boundaries.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's good.
Like we never had to have a discussion about that. You just did.
How has unbusying your life impacted your relationships with your family and your success as a business owner? We've talked a lot about family, but not as much about the business. How has the unbusying of things impacted you?
I think it's what allowed me to have the business in the first place, because I think anyone looking at my life would say it's already full. You've got the 5 kids, you've got the marriage, you've got the homeschooling. What in the world are you doing trying to add something else on with enough time sunk into it that you truly can make that ripple effect of impacting other people? Like, it's only by being a time minimalist that I could even do this.
Right. What are some key lessons you've learned about living this fulfilling life while juggling the roles that you've played?
Well, number one thing I like to tell moms is, like, bring it down from the 20,000 foot view, like kind of 1,000 feet. What is the top frustration you're feeling right now? Not the big angsty, like, life purpose or what do I need to fix about my business model thing. Like, what about your daily schedule as the wife and mother and business owner is just rubbing against you every day? Maybe it's something about the supper routine, the fact that you're cooking and clearing off the table and doing the dishes and packaging the leftovers and sweeping the floor. And you're just dead tired after all of it. And you feel like the kids are ungrateful that they leave you to do all 5 tasks yourself. Maybe that's it. Would it help to just have one person doing one of those things for you? Do you need all 3 of your kids to come in and each grab one of those tasks? So you just have to package leftovers, maybe, and just do dishes. Like, what can you fix so that you're not feeling that resentment and frustration that then spills out of you day to day onto your family, like your precious, precious family? But you could fix that instead of just, what if you could just do a little bit of outsourcing, a little bit of delegating, and then you'd have the energy, you'd have the spaciousness, the patience, the time for them. Yeah, sure, if it's a super hard day, then you might need to muster up some more patience. But typically, you should be living at the edge of this burnout and start changing.
That's so good. Alyssa, how can someone get in contact with you if they want to learn more about Unbusy, about how to better do their time management and then unbusying things? How can they get in contact with you?
You can go to my website, yourunbusylife.com. And if you're ready to clear your too much going on plate and banish the pressure from your high performing to do list as a mom, I have an audio feed for you about how to release the pressure valve in your time management. Because there's honestly no need to flirt with burnout to hold both the high achiever identity and the present mom one.
Mm.
So if you're ready to find out what to quit, just grab this instant access audio feed called Time Back Secrets for Work at Home Moms. I think we'll have a link for that for you in the show notes.
That would be wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So, audience, I hope you get some really good tips from this. This is ways, anxiety. What we're talking about is reducing triggers of anxiety. And anytime you're in that space of overwhelm, that increases your anxiety. So, I highly suggest that, this is not just for moms. I think this is for anybody who's really looking to really get their arms around their busy schedules, because statistics show that entrepreneurs, that is one of the most highly stressful roles you can be in as an entrepreneur. I did a talk on this a couple of years ago, ironically, and then being a mother or a parent, that's also can be a very stressful role, especially when you're juggling with children, and their schedules, because each individual has their own schedule. So I highly recommend checking out Alyssa from Unbusy and talking with her, maybe even scheduling a session with her just to kind of get an idea of what that can look like. And I'll make sure to have that information. Thank you guys for listening to Elisha Space and picking up these gems of truth, these diamonds of truth. I thank you for listening to us. Pick these pieces up, make some changes, and let us know in the comments if you were able to try any of these things and if it made an impact. Take care, everyone.